Hey gang, get in here. Welcome to Two Guys Garage. Now what we have behind us is a collection of bad habits held together with a little bit of crazy.
That includes us too. We've got a 2006 Trailblazer SS, a really fun project that needs some love, but we're also introducing a brand new performance project. It's gonna be a riot.
I'm telling you, man, stick around, strap in, this is gonna be awesome. You know, this was one of those vehicles, you would hear it, if somebody put an aftermarket exhaust on it, you would hear that rumble, and you go, what is it? It's a Trailblazer, right?
Oh, absolutely, because, you know, it has the heart and soul of like a Corvette, right?
Yeah.
6-liter LS2, punch it in the 400 horsepower range,
Yeah.
but in a truck.
It's unbelievable. The only thing that kept it from hitting that 400, it was 395, 400 foot-pounds of torque, was the belt-driven fan. The Corvette and other things with the LS2 got an electric fan, and that belt-driven guy took 5 horsepower. But I'm telling you, a couple mods, right, and these things, whoo, straight get down.
Yeah, now with an all-wheel drive system and that much power, boy, these things grip, and they have a very sporty feel for such a big, you know, what you think of a 4-wheel drive type of setup,
Exactly,
right?
man. I'm telling you, it's an awesome little package. And this one has some charging issues, some running issues. He goes to turn it, and all you hear is that metal tick, 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 you know? So we're gonna dive into it, get our hands dirty, elbows deep, fix our Trailblazer, and be tearing the tires off of it soon.
All right, we've got a couple of issues on this truck that could be kind of confusing as figuring out what they are, so we have to think through it a little bit and maybe separate them out a bit.
Yeah, first, let's show you what he would actually use to thump the starter on occasion. You know, we were talking about he gets that metal sort of metallic tick, tick, tick noise on occasion. Like it feels like this, you know, the starter's hit like a dead spot. And he'll get out and thump it, right? And then try to get it to go. And believe it or not, that can work.
Yeah, normally I just like to use my key, but you know, everybody's different, right?
Right, yeah.
But you know, you can get stuck, you know, on a dead spot on the starter, so it won't start there. But if you can just wiggle a little bit,
Right.
then you can get the juice to flow and crank it up.
Sure.
It's great if you want to try that all the time, but somewhere you're gonna land in a bad spot, wrong neighborhood.
On a date?
Yeah, so we definitely think we've got a starter problem. But we've also got, you know, the battery gauge is reading
Sure.
low, and
right.
he's had to, you know, charge the battery a couple times recently. So we could have a battery or a charging or both problem.
Issues, right. Now, we had the battery charger on the charger, so it should be showing well over 12 volts. We should be good there.
Yeah, so if we look at our reading, you know, we're up well over 12 volts, 12.4. And what you can do to kind of test the battery, you know, when you're not in the shop with a professional battery loader, crank the
Put a
car
load
over.
on it,
Yeah,
right?
crank the car over several times. If you can start your car, because that's a lot of energy, you can start your car easily, you know, after charging your battery for a while,
Yeah.
you're probably okay.
Yep.
So then we got to think about, are we just not getting the charge, right, from the alternator? So what we've got is, you know, 12 plus, but when you actually run the vehicle and your alternator's running, you need to be running like 13.8, 14, 2 to actually keep charging the battery, make sure you got plenty of juice.
Right, you gotta imagine all the things, especially in an 06, there's all kinds of computers, fans, relays, and so forth, right? Not to mention everything he's got going on in the cab, whether it's radios, stereos, and so forth. So a lot of draw on that battery, a lot of juice needs to come from that alternator. That's why you always wanna see around a high 13, a low 14 when you have that voltmeter on it and it's running.
Yeah, so why don't you turn the key and we'll see what we've got while it's running.
Okay, ready, clear?
Yeah, so we're already under 12 volts. We're ticking our way down to 11. You know, more accessories, the headlights on. You're just gonna keep draining this thing, but you should see, again, about 13.8, 14.2. Now what you can do, if you wanna rev the pedal up a little bit, sometimes your alternator, because you know the idle speed's so low, might not be reading, so you can rev it up to maybe 2,000 RPM. Nothing's changing, so we know that charging system's just kind of kaput, and we can dive right in and swap out the alternator. All right, we got the old alternator out, and thank goodness it was pretty simple. We disconnected the battery for safety, removed all the connectors in the back, dropped our belt, a couple of bolts, and here we are. Now we're replacing it with an AC Delco remanufactured alternator, and what's great is it's the best of all worlds. Remanufactured means I get to reuse, like recycle, structures and cases that never fail, but I replace all the components inside that might go bad. Everything from bearings, high temperature lube, the seals, right? Some electronics like diodes, etc. So I get to bring the new with the known, recycled bits, and I've got the quality of how they assemble, how they test it from a company like AC Delco. Now, what's also kind of neat, I'll just set this up here for now, is everything is, quality tested, and they actually give you a little chart in here of all the electronic tests they run, so it's like a brand new unit. So this is gonna drop in nice and simple, just like we got the old one out. We can fire this thing up and see how we're doing. All right, we're just under 14 volts, so we know our alternator system is now working properly. Let's get this thing up in the air. Willie can tackle that starter.
Whew. I gotta tell you, this thing is a bear to get out. You gotta remove that rear cross member, all kinds of heat shields and dust shields. Whew. I suggest you enlist the help of like Chuck Norris next time. But we're gonna replace it with this AC Delco Professional Reman Starter. Now, that's an industry practice where they'll blow the entire unit apart and replace anything that's damaged, worn, or obsolete. So you get a new bronze-centered and oil-impregnated bushings. You get a new solenoid, so you have brand new copper terminals and all plated hardware, and it's inline tested for maximum torque, maximum current, and so forth to make sure you get an OE standard equipment. And I mean, look at this, pass. Looks like a Kevin Bird report card here. So I'll get this guy back up in here, and maybe I'll have time to show you how these things actually work. All right, now I think you guys are gonna like this. So here's the starter. This is the motor. This is the solenoid. Now I've rigged it up with some jumper cables, grounded out the motor here, have it hooked to the battery side on the solenoid, and it got me a little trigger. This is gonna act basically like your ignition switch. So I'm gonna test the solenoid right now. So watch the Bendix come flying up here and you should see it spin. Now remember, this thing has an intermittent problem. Maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't, but you're definitely gonna see something cool. So ignition switch. Kind of cool, right? So that tells me the solenoid is okay. Now if I unhook my gator clips, right? I'm gonna test just the motor alone. So maybe see a spark here, but I'm just gonna arc it against the motor one here. So let's see what this does. Kind of cool, right? Like we said, this one has an intermittent problem, but that at least allows you and shows you how to test the solenoid and then how to test the motor, all right? Don't be afraid. Kind of cool, all right? When we come back, more on the Trailblazer, more on our project. I'm gonna clean up, you grab some coffee, and I'll see you in a second. Though it's been discontinued in North America, the Chevy Trailblazer lives on in some international markets, including Thailand and Brazil. Now, what was the last model year for North American production of the Trailblazer? We'll have the answer right after the break. What was the last model year for North American production of the Chevy Trailblazer? Well, if you guessed B, you're right. In 2009, the Trailblazer was replaced by the Traverse and Equinox, but Chevrolet revived production of the Trailblazer internationally in 2012, and it's even seen a few minor upgrades along the way. This Two Guys Garage IQ test is brought to you by Federated Auto Parts.
As Willie mentioned earlier in the show, we've got an engine light on, so we've got a code. When we pull it, it's a P0153, which is an oxygen sensor. So let me give you the lay of the land. We've got 4 on this vehicle. 1 on the left bank here, before and after the cat, and over here, bank 2, before and after the cat. But it's actually the 153 code is indicating this sensor right up here. So come up on the bench. I'll show you our new sensors here from AC Delco. Now, this is the front sensor, and this is the one behind the catalytic converter. And you have to make sure, which one you're working on because they're doing two different functions. So the upstream sensor is telling the computer, how well it's doing with air-fuel ratios, so it can dial in the right amount of fuel to keep your emissions, your fuel economy, and your engine running properly. Now, your downstream one is typically monitoring the catalytic converter in the middle and telling you if the catalytic converter is actually functioning. Now, we had this P0153 code. Now, any code is just telling you there's a problem. It doesn't necessarily tell you, oh, it's the sensor. So in this case, it could be a faulty sensor. It could be a leak in the exhaust manifold, a vacuum leak somewhere, or even your mass air sensor up in the front. So after going through all those checks, we've narrowed it down to it's just a faulty sensor. So we can pop this guy in, hopefully make the code go away, get back that fuel economy, make sure we got good emissions. Now, a good tip, sometimes they're hard to get into. This is a nice tool. It actually will reach in here and grab a little bit better than just an open and wrench, but you can get in those tight spaces. So let me get the old one out, pop the new one in, move along. Okay, our oxygen sensor is all nice and snug. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, got a little special surprise for you.
While this Chevy Trailblazer is in the shop, the guys are installing new brake components. They picked up a set of premium Wagner OEX brake pads and E-Shield rotors from their local Federated Auto Parts. These pads are designed for pickups, SUVs, and CUVs with a platform-specific shape to optimize fit and performance, and a unique slot designed for cooler operation and improved stopping power. The rotors have a durable electrocoating to inhibit corrosion. Their unique vane pattern is application-specific for better cooling and smoother braking. And their smooth turn surface finish helps lessen break-in time. However, it's still important to make sure your friction components are broken in properly. Wagner recommends making about 20 complete stops from 30 miles an hour, or 20 slowdowns from 50 to 20 miles per hour using light to moderate pedal pressure. Leave at least 30 seconds between brake applications to let the pads cool down. This way, you avoid damaging the rotor or the friction materials on the pad. You should also avoid hauling heavy loads during the break-in process. Proper braking improves stopping performance and increases the stability of your vehicle's braking effectiveness over a wider range of temperatures, allowing you to get the most out of your new brake pads and rotors. Let's go inside the Duplicolor garage. Duplicolor, yes you can, in your garage. This old truck has seen better days. To fix this issue, we're going to show you how to use 3 Duplicolor truck bed coating products. It's an easy do-it-yourself way to protect your truck bed at a fraction of the cost of conventional drop-in bed liners. This tailgate is taped off in 3 sections to show you the different truck bed coating options. If you want the factory finish to show, use clear truck bed coating. For a beat-up bed, use black truck bed coating or Bed Armor truck bed coating. Bed Armor is great if you want a more textured finish with a soap and water cleanup. It's a water-based rubberized polyurethane coating formulated for added impact resistance. When using any truck bed coating, prep the surface by getting it clean and dry. Then mask off any surrounding areas to protect against overspray. Scuff the surface for adhesion before spraying, except when using clear truck bed coating so the truck's factory color will come through. All truck bed coating comes in multiple application methods to help make the job easier. Start with aerosol to coat the corners and the hard-to-reach areas. Then use the roller or spray gun to cover larger areas. When applying, use 2 to 3 coats and let it cure based on can instructions. When you're done, you'll have a great-looking, well-protected truck bed.
Hey guys, welcome back, and let me introduce you, not to Willie, you know him, our 2010 ARP Camaro build.
Now, ARP Camaro build, that means you know we're gonna be throwing obviously some great fasteners at it, but some big time upgrades as well. LS3. Now, if you got the manual in there, it was what, 426 horsepower or so? Now, if you got the automatic, oops.
400.
400.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Still cool.
Yes, very much so. What are the first things we're gonna do and dive into this thing?
Well, we want to get some more power, more torque. So
Sure.
we're going to start with the torque. We're going to get it down to the wheels with a gear replacement on the third member there.
Yeah, dive into that.
Yeah, we're going to up that. So that's going to be a great project. Let's
Right.
get started on that, and then we got a whole lot more goodies we're gonna spread throughout the car, so at the end of the day, you know, at the end of the project, it's gonna be awesome.
I think at some point this season, this car is gonna be on the track with either him or I behind the wheel of
You
it.
think? I know, buddy.
My
I
man.
know, that's
Let's
right.
get busy. Get it up. I've got some tools.
You got it.
All right, here it is, the center section out of our 2010 Camaro. It just didn't appear here through osmosis. Little work to get us here. All right, move the tires and rims, drop the drive shaft out, remove the exhaust. There's a retaining nut up here. Loosen that up, swing that as high as you can, pull the axle out, and then bam, center section comes out with about 3 bolts. Not too bad, right?
Yeah, so now we're ready for our Chevrolet Performance 391 gear kit. So this is gonna add a lot more torque. And what's great about it, this is the original option out of the 1LE Camaro from like 2013 to 15. So great OE quality, you know it's gonna go right back in.
Exactly. One of the great things about it is, you know, hey, it's OE quality, but with a 391, it's a higher numeric number, and now it's a lower ratio on the tire itself. So when you talk torque multiplication at the rear tire, that's an increase on this particular car of about 13%. Over an automatic car, it's about 20%.
So that means a 13% better burnout.
yeah, man.
That's what I'm talking about.
You gotta love that.
And you can see in the kit you have everything. It's not just the ring and pinion. You've got crush leaves, you've got all your critical fasteners, you got your seals, your outside seals, your friction modifier, the whole gambit to put it back together right. So what we're gonna do, pull this guy out here, change the big gear, then we can get to the pinion, we can swap that over, right? We can get our crush sleeve in there, we can get our gear meshing, put it all back together just right, and get out there and burn some tires up.
Exactly. And then after you get the new gearing in, you take it and have the speedometer re-flash, right? So your speedo's correct. I don't want to get you busted out there,
And
okay?
it comes with the kit. So all you gotta do is drive to your dealer and say, dude, hook me up.
Exactly. All right, let's start throwing pieces at it, man. Get it back in this car. Money.
All right, we got this thing all bolted back together. Everything's nice and tight. Got it zipped up with some ARP fasteners. Before we put it back in with the same steps we took it out,
Exactly.
let's take a break, go to the shipping room, check out some cool products.
Yeah, man, got some cool stuff. Okay, Kev, I know you're familiar with this, and you should be too. From Hot Shot Secret, their transmission stiction eliminator. Now, this is great stuff. You're gonna find smoother, quicker, easier shifts the second you pour it in.
Yeah, it's almost immediate because you get burnt oil or the transmission fluid breakdown and it gets on the parts and it actually causes more friction. That hesitation in the parts causes, you know, poor shifting, slippage. Pour this in, it magnetically bonds to the metals in your transmission, whether it's diesel, whether it's gas, and all of a sudden, you know, and especially over time, you'll just feel like it's smoother, faster, better.
It is, man, and it's applicable to all types of automatic transmission fluids, regardless of what you're running, Chevy, Ford, GM, Dodge. You just add this in for cleaner, smoother shifts.
You need new badging for your Gen 5 Camaro? Man, maybe you had chrome bumper for your early Chevy truck.
Yeah,
You know,
man.
maybe you got a Nova you need some interior parts for. Classic Parts of America has you covered. 8 catalogs full of goodies.
Yeah, man. Remember when you're a kid and you get your catalog, and for me, I always fold the pages. My catalogs have this, so I know what to order. You can get every brace, every bracket, every bezel, all brand new and all top notch for every make, every model. Over 50 years of coverage in these catalogs alone.
Absolutely, and they're free, so check them out. Classic Parts of America. Get that hot rod rolling again, looking sharp.
Now, let's be honest, not all fuel system cleaners are created equal, especially when you compare it to Blue Devil Complete Fuel System Cleaner. It reduces emissions, gets rid of those fuel deposits that they leave in injectors and your lines and so forth.
Yeah, now think about it. You change your oil, right? You change your filter. You wash the outside of the car. This is how you clean the inside, the fuel system. And once you've cleaned all those deposits out, again, you pick up better emissions, efficiency, performance. It's a great, simple thing, and it comes with its own funnel.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. You don't have to go chasing around, clean your old one, flip it up, ready to pour it in, you're all set.
Yeah, easy peasy, like Sunday morning. All right, we gotta take a break. Be back in just a couple minutes. We gotta get back to work.
Yeah.
This segment of Two Guys Garage is brought to you by Power Stop Brakes. Don't just stop, power stop.
Hey guys, welcome back. Now, we're back on our Trailblazer SS. We're gonna, address some of the wear items. We got new spark plugs and spark plug wires from AC Delco. Now, the nice thing is, back in the old days, spark plugs used to wear out, and we used to have to do tune-ups every 30, 40, 60,000 miles. But now they're lasting a lot longer, which is great, but spark plugs do actually wear. The electrodes wear, so you gotta replace them, and we're gonna do these with rapid fire, right, which is great. This is a single platinum, which is platinum on the electrode there, so it's gonna give a superior spark. It's put less strain and voltage requirement on the ignition system.
Something else I like about them is 100% copper core. That's gonna help with heat transfer and durability.
Yeah, now we also have, what's kind of neat is, right, it's a smoother sort of ceramic here instead of the ribbing. So you actually get a better seal, so you don't get moisture up in there and lose some of that spark energy.
Right, and you don't get them to break like this, right? These old school ones, where that would clamp on, always tend to break apart when you're trying to get these things off. So
Yeah, so old, new, let's get them rolling in there. Little dielectric grease, a little anti-seize. This guy will be fired up and ready to get back out on the streets.
nice.
I like it.
Nice.
I like it. I think we're done. All right.
So no more PVC. Hit the starter, man.
That was a lot of fun, though. Did you like starting a car? I mean, it used to be hand cranks, then it moved into PVC.
No doubt. All right, so we put in full day's work. We did plugs, wires, that O2 sensor, the starter.
That was a tough one. The alternator, not so hard.
Now we have no lights, no gauges malfunction.
And we got on that Camaro project, which I still am stoked about.
Now it's time to get that crazy working for both of us.
All right. See you guys next time.